Hello, it's Scott Dikkers of How to Write Funny. And I'm going to do a little quick live video here in response to an email I got. And I'm going to read it. The email says, I just don't know what to do. I got interested in comedy recently, so I've just been really trying to read all the advice and guidebooks that I can. All of the advice says to just go to open mics, test out material, but I'm 15, so I'm not sure what places I'd actually be able to go to. I've looked up some online open mics, but I'm wondering if they'd be able to provide as much feedback as an in-person audience. So I guess my question is, what would be the most useful to me in getting started? And also, I was trying to write some jokes um, and was wondering, how do you make sure that you don't have too much of one type of joke? All right, so the main thing I'm going to focus on, I can actually answer that first question first. Sorry, second question first. How do you make sure you don't have too much of one type of joke? Don't worry about it. That literally is something you don't have to worry about. If you're writing all the same joke, people will tell you. Um, you're going to get feedback as part of the process that I'm going to suggest. And people will say, hey, you're doing too much on the thing. And then you'll get the feedback and you'll adjust. So before you've ever shown any jokes to anyone, don't overthink it. Don't worry about whether it's too much or too little of whatever. Just do it and don't really think. It's actually better if you don't think as much as you might think. Most people writing comedy or performing comedy overthink, and that's their problem. It often is so useful to them to just not think, to just turn it off, just try to be funny, forget about it, go on instinct alone and just do it. That's usually when you get the most success. Oftentimes, in fact, someone will write 10 jokes, and the joke that they spent the least amount of effort on, the least amount of thought, is the one joke on the list of 10 that everyone likes. So it's kind of a secret trick, if you will, to making jokes work. Don't think. We all have this bias that the comedy has to be smart and we have to think about it really hard. Otherwise, like, what's the point? People are going to be, analyzing the joke. They're going to be wondering what's it trying to say, and they're going to say, "Ooh, that's not smart," or whatever. That's not the problem. People aren't looking for smart comedy. They're not looking for anything other than funny comedy. They just want to be funny. And people will laugh at the dumbest things. Look at Family Guy. There you go. So just try to be funny. Don't worry about it. And now I'm going to get to your bigger question, which is, how do I get started? How do I do it? Especially if you're 15. But these suggestions would work for anybody. And they're very broad, but within each broad tip or suggestion, I'm going to give you some specifics. So the first step I would suggest is write. You're already doing that. This person who wrote me the email is already doing that. But if you watching have not already done that, you're not going to get to be a comedian or a comedy writer by not writing anything. Comedians write things, and you have to sit down and write it. Now, is it going to be any good? That's the question. You're going to figure that out. Right now, don't worry about it. Just write something. Every comedian, from the top to your buddy who just started by writing something. They had a funny idea, they wrote it down. They had a thought, they wrote it down. It all starts with the writing. Whether you're a performer or a writer, you all have to write something. And this stops a lot of people. And I always suggest write 10 ideas a day. Take half an hour a day, make it part of your routine, and try to write 10 things that are funny. They can be tweets, they can be jokes, doesn't matter. But having that regular habit where you're writing 10 things a day is so powerful, because over time, you're going to get better at it. It's going to be easier. And you're going to be collecting a vault of jokes that you've written, or funny ideas or concepts or funny projects or anything that you have written. And that's an incredibly powerful asset. So step one, getting started. You just had the idea to get into comedy yesterday. Write something. All right. I think that's pretty basic and self-explanatory. Oh, why am I giving you step 4? Step 2 is get some feedback. So you can write something, but you can't just write something and leave it in your drawer. Those 10 ideas a day that I suggested, maybe leave those in your drawer for a few days and then go back and look at them, go through them and pick out any that you still think are funny after a few days. Put those on a short list and show those to people. Give them to some friends who you know who are interested in comedy. You can sign up for the How to Write Funny Facebook group. It's a feedback group where comedians and comedy writers help each other and provide feedback on their jokes. It's a great environment to test jokes, but get some kind of feedback. Comedy does not work in a vacuum. Okay, it's not art, it's entertainment, and it requires an audience to laugh at it. So you need to know if your comedy is working. You need to know if your writing is funny. The only way you're going to get that is by getting feedback. It's very hard to get feedback, and I do go into some kind of detailed tactics to get a good feedback group, to get the actual kind of constructive feedback that you need in my book, How to Write Funnier. But for now, I will say just try to get some feedback, any kind of feedback. Once you get good at writing jokes and getting feedback after you've done it a while, you'll be able to figure out what feedback means even when people aren't very articulate. And people are often not very articulate about their comedy feedback. They'll say, I didn't like this one part. They won't know why. Or, I thought it was too mean. Or, whatever their comment is, you need to kind of decode it. And if you get a few ideas from a few different people, a few different types of feedback from a few different people, whenever people always mention the same part of something, the same joke out of a list of 10, for example, you're going to know, okay, that's a problem area. You have to work on it, regardless of what the various comments were. But feedback is very important. You're going to refine the comedy that you're writing by getting feedback from other people. And you can't be scared of getting feedback from other people. It's one of the most important parts of the process. Now, if you're really bold and you want to get feedback from a real audience straight away, then yes, you can go do an open mic, or you can do an online open mic, which is a totally legitimate way to do comedy. And you can put up a YouTube video, which is what I've been doing recently, just putting my comedy on a YouTube video. You'll get feedback. People will comment on it. So however you put yourself out there, you're going to get feedback. If you're not ready to put yourself out there, I definitely recommend doing it as soon as possible, as soon as you're ready. But if you're not, just get feedback from friends. Step 3 is make some more. Keep writing. Write another 10. Take the feedback you got and incorporate it into your next batch, so that you make sure that you're writing comedy that you like, you think is funny, but that's also working for the audience. That's kind of the magic pairing. If you write comedy that only you think is funny, you're never going to get anywhere with it. If you write comedy that only your audience thinks is funny, you're going to be miserable and you're just going to be a dancing monkey. You need to write comedy that you like and that also is connecting with audiences. That's the magic sweet spot in the Venn diagram you're trying to get to. And I believe everyone has that ability. Even if you think you're super weird and nobody's going to like or get your jokes, you will find that sweet spot if you keep working at it. And that's kind of the process. It's really a 3-step process. Write, get some feedback, write some more based on the feedback. If I had to boil the whole process down, that's what it would be. Step 4 is have fun. And that's partly goes back to what I was saying about overthinking your work. People in comedy tend to overthink. They tend to kind of obsess about, oh, maybe this isn't any good. Maybe nobody likes it. Maybe I'm terrible. Maybe I should never do it. And audiences can smell that kind of lack of confidence. If you're having fun, try to tap into that spirit that you had when you first thought of getting into comedy. Maybe when you were a kid and you first told a joke and people laughed, or you performed by yourself in front of the mirror. Like, those are fun moments. And good comedians, good comedy writers are having fun. They don't take it too seriously because, after all, it's comedy. It's not brain surgery. If you make a mistake, nobody gets hurt. It's just a learning moment. If you make a mistake, it's just a way to refine and improve your comedy. So having fun is infectious. People like it. It makes the comedy funnier when you're having fun. And why are you doing this after all? Are you doing it to get rich? You're doing it to get famous? No, you're doing it because you want to, because you enjoy it. So if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? It shouldn't be miserable. It shouldn't be a slog. And that's really it. It's really that simple. So I want to look at some of the comments that you guys sent. Hugh, thank you for your comments. Don't overthink anything. Yes, I agree. You freeze when you overthink it. Yeah, overthinking is paralyzing. Comedy is mostly an intuitive experience, you've found. I would agree. I mean, there are moments when you're starting out when it is very conscious and we do all overthink it and we all work too hard and we obsess and we get anxious about whether it's working. But once we get over that hump and we've had enough practice and maybe we're in a groove and we've got some regular process going where we do comedy, it really does work best when it's shooting from the hip and it's just like, I'm going to try this. Why not? Let's see what happens, because you're just having fun. And that again, people like that spirit. I'm going to get rid of this thing. Dido dated Wham. I don't know I don't know how to pronounce your name, but you have a very wonderful and supportive comment. The comment is, bro, who you talking to? Ain't no one here. So maybe you're just some troll. I don't know. Like maybe you had a bad day. I feel bad for you. It doesn't matter that nobody's watching. It doesn't matter because, yeah, it's a live video and there are some people and those people are watching because they want to watch, but the video stays on YouTube and people watch it later, you know? And so instead of trying to deflate people who are out there on YouTube making videos, maybe you should go make your own videos. Sarab, I think is how you pronounce that. What is the effect of change in language while doing comedy? That's a great question. Comedy is very, Steve, we're watching. Thank you, Steve. Language is huge in comedy. And I've seen a lot of, I don't speak any other language besides English. And I admire people who speak a second or third language. And if English is their second or third language and it seems like they don't speak English very well, I still am super impressed by those people that they can even make themselves understandable in English because that's way more than I can do. But trying to translate that into comedy is very hard. And I've seen it a lot where somebody for whom English is not their first language, they struggle with putting jokes together and making it work. I will say this, humor is universal. Humans find the same things funny. So yeah, there are some types of humor that are going to be harder to do if the language you're doing the humor in is not your first language, but you don't have to do that humor. There's a lot of humor where it doesn't matter. So out of the 11 funny filters, I would say wordplay is probably the one that's going to be the hardest if you don't speak the language. But you can do madcap humor. That's absolutely universal. There don't have to be any words at all. You can do meta humor where you make fun of other humor. You can do hyperbole where you exaggerate. That works in any language. Check out the How to Write Funny website where I list all the 11 funny filters and how to use them to get some ideas. If English is not your first language and you're trying to do humor in English, as an example, explore some of the funny filters and see which ones work. Again, avoid wordplay. Everything else is universal. So I would even say that is possibly an example of overthinking. Saying, well, I can't do this joke or I'm not going to do these jokes because I'm worried that people won't get them or like them because English is not my first language or whatever the case may be. Just keep writing, keep putting the jokes out there, getting feedback. That's really the ticket. Because yeah, you probably are going to make some missteps, but aren't we all? Like every comedian who writes jokes writes some jokes that don't work. So might be that it's because English isn't your first language and you're trying to make the jokes in English. For somebody else, it might be something else. We all have something that makes it hard for us to communicate our ideas to other people. I wouldn't get hung up on one particular thing. I'd focus on your strengths and keep moving ahead. Hugh, you've said that charisma is almost more important than great material. I found that to be true as well. I've seen that firsthand where someone who has an incredible amount of stage charisma can get up on stage and recite jokes that really aren't funny. If you saw them in print, you'd be like, I don't get it. What's the joke? But they have such a stage presence and they're having so much fun up there that people are laughing. And by the same token, somebody who is scared of being on stage, maybe it's their first time, but they've written some really great material, they'll get up there and people won't laugh because the person's not having fun. So obviously with performance comedy, there are a lot of different ingredients for making it work. And stage presence and confidence is definitely one of them. You still need confidence to do the other media, like to write in prose. You still have to have confidence to face the blank page, for example, but not as much. Stage performance is really a different animal and a different muscle. And thanks for those comments, Hugh. Steve, should subtext always come first? Not necessarily. You can start a joke by starting with the subtext and then building from there. Or you can just think of something amusing and then try to ask yourself, deconstruct your joke that you wrote and say, well, what is it saying? What's the subtext? And then consider whether that subtext that you really want to be communicating. There's no right or wrong way, whatever works for you. The method of writing jokes that I lay out, if you go to How to Write Funny and check out the free ebooks there and the joke writing cheat sheet, you'll see that I do suggest subtext first and then filtering that through funny filters, because I've found for a beginner, that's like a really easy step-by-step process. But if you've been doing it a while and you want to try something different, you can try any kind of method you want. And you can just let ideas pop into your head and you can write them down, or you can sit at a blank piece of paper and just try to amuse yourself. Really, and you can talk to other people. And some people get energy talking in a group, making other people laugh, and then makes you realize, oh, I might have just said something funny. And you can work with that. So yeah, any number of methods work. So I hope this video has been helpful to you if you're just starting out in comedy. And to the person who I'm not going to identify who wrote me that letter, who's 15, I hope this is a help. Good luck. You got all the time in the world. I hope to be seeing some of your comedy out there in the world at some point. And that's a great advantage that you have being 15, because you're getting started early. I probably started doing comedy at 15. And what I wouldn't do to go back and be able to do it all again, knowing what I know now. So I'm glad you reached out for some advice, and I hope you'll keep writing, and I hope to see your work at some point. So thanks everybody for watching. And even thank you to that sad person who had to make fun of this video for not having a lot of people watching it. I hope you feel better. And thank you, Sarab. I appreciate the comment. And good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. It's Scott Dikkers signing off. Again, you can hear more of me on this channel, the How to Write Funny YouTube channel. Subscribe if you want more videos, and hit the little bell icon to get notified when there's a new video up. And head over to howtowritefunny.com for a lot of free resources for comedy writers. One of the great new things we got going on is the Writers Room, which we just had today. It meets twice a month, where we review each other's comedy. We talk about comedy, and it was a really good meeting today. So unless I see you there, I hope to see you next time I'm on YouTube. So good night, or Facebook or Twitch or wherever you're watching this. Take care, everybody.